Hello everyone, Andrew here, and for today's video we are going to be looking at what I think is one of the weirdest things in my collection. Not too many people know too much about it, even collectors. You don't see too many of them who have it. It's not the greatest thing, and it's also really weird, and there's not too many of them out there. It's not the easiest thing to get your hands on. But anyway, enough guessing. What I am talking about is the Atari Lynx, one of the weirdest portable consoles I have ever seen, and you will see why. Right here, this is the official carrying case for the first model, and we're also going to be looking at the second model too, and kind of seeing what improvements were made there, and just how different it is. So anyway, if I open up this case, we can get to looking at it. So if I open up here, you will see that we have a space for some games down here, and the console is up there at the top, and yes, this is the Atari Lynx. Look at how massive that thing is. I really hope that the camera is showing just how big it is. I mean, I see people going on about how they don't like the 3DS XL because it doesn't fit into their back pocket. Well, this isn't going to fit into, like, anything. Even if you had a massive backpack, this thing would take up, like, half the space. It is just huge. It's really, really weird. It has a whole bunch of buttons, a whole bunch of features and stuff like that. It's overall just a really massive portable console. I like how you can see the reflection in the TV there, so you can kind of see how long I've been recording for. And overall, it is just a really, really strange portable console. So to give you an idea about when this was released, the original Game Boy was released in August 1989, and this was released in September 1989. So if we compare it to the shape of the size of the original Game Boy, you can see that it is a lot bigger than the original Game Boy, considering just how close together they were released. Although it's also important to note that the Atari Lynx actually does have a lot of features that the original Game Boy didn't have. So, for instance, the screen lights up, the graphics are better, and the screen is color. So I guess that back then, in order to have those features, you had to make your portable console this big. But still, it's crazy compared to the original Game Boy. It's also interesting to note that the Atari Lynx is credited as being the very first color portable console ever. So that is a bit of an interesting piece of information there. But again, it is just so huge. It's almost not worth having all of those features. It'd just be nice for it to be a little bit more smaller and more comfortable, rather than for it to be so big. So anyway, let's get into looking at some of these buttons that are on the front, because there are a lot of them, and you're going to see a few other things about it as well. So maybe I'll focus here so that everyone can see the words beside the buttons nice and good. So okay, so there we have the D-pad and the on and off button, which is pretty self-explanatory. We have the screen, which is a bit wider than a Game Boy screen, and of course it's in color. Here we have option 1 and option 2 at the top and bottom, which just do a few different things in different games. We have restart, and we have flip, and also there's a little pause symbol there. It's probably not showing up too well on the camera. Now it's interesting to note that there are more options along here than there are buttons, like option 1, restart, flip, and option 2, but there's only 3 buttons, so how does that work? As you might be able to see, it's really hard to do a good close-up on this thing. Now let's try to keep the camera at a good spot. Let's focus in on that there. As you can see here, option 1, restart is in between option 1 and the pause button, so in order to restart, that means that you have to push both the option 1 and pause buttons at the same time. Same here with flip. If you want to flip, you have to press the pause button and the option 2 button at the same time, which is really weird. Let's hope I did not mess up the camera too much by just doing that. Now let's see, is it still good? Hopefully everything is still good. So yeah, I mean, that's really weird that they actually needed so many different functions that they had to make it so that some of the functions could only be done if you press 2 of the buttons at the same time. Let me fix the camera just a little bit. Cool. Actually, one more second. There we go. Perfect. But one thing that people might be wondering is, what the heck does flip do? I mean, restart makes sense, pause makes sense, but what about flip? So as you might have noticed, there are A and B buttons on the top and A and B buttons on the bottom. So why do you need 2 sets of A and B buttons? Because they do literally the exact same thing. So when you press flip, so I guess you don't really press flip, you press pause and option 2 to make the screen flip. The screen flips upside down, so you can actually turn your Lynx upside down and play it like this now, actually. So basically, if I played it like this before, now you can turn it upside down and play it like this, so that the buttons are on the left side of your controller pretty much, and the D-pad is on the right, so that's really weird. I guess they did that to accommodate for people who are left-handed, and that's not really a situation I've ever really thought of before. Do left-handed people have a bit of trouble using controllers, like the usual video game controllers, where the D-pad is on the left and the buttons are on the right? I actually don't know any left-handed people who play video games, so if you are a left-handed gamer, please put down in the comments if you think that's a decent idea, or if you have no problem using the controller with the D-pad on the left and the buttons on the right, so it's pretty pointless. Because, I mean, it really is a feature that you never see in anything else, where the screen literally flips upside down so that you can turn the controller over, and now you're using the A and B buttons on the opposite side of the controller, and the D-pad is on the right. That is just so bizarre. So yeah, please, left-handed gamers, let me know if you think that's a good idea or if you think it's silly because you don't have any problem using it the regular way. One thing I should also note about the Atari Lynx is that it definitely chips, the paint chips very easily along the edges, as you can see there. The paint, all you have to really do is nick it against something and it will start to chip away. Also on the top, we have a whole bunch of things here. Like we have AC adapter spot. I believe that's the link cable spot. I do not have one. Headphone spot, volume slider, and on the bottom we have brightness, so you can select the brightness of the screen while you're playing. So enough of just talking about the console. We should probably check out some of the games. Although before I do, I should note that this thing takes 6 AA batteries, so it takes a ton of batteries. Even the original Game Boy only took 4, although I guess with the color and the backlit screen, it needed more batteries. And also, some people might be wondering, where on earth does the game go? You need to open up this secret compartment on the end here, and a game will slide into there. So let me see here. I have this case of all of these games. Which one should we choose? How about Gauntlet? Why not? Of course, that's one of the things that made that the Lynx suffered for a bit too. The game selection wasn't the greatest. I mean, it wasn't like the Game Boy where you had Mario, Tetris, Zelda, all that awesome stuff, or even the Game Gear, which we'll actually compare the Lynx to in a second, but I forgot to do that, which had Sonic. Lynx, Atari didn't really have any series that made it stand out. So anyway, before we put that into the console, I should really point out just what the games look like. The games are very flat, kind of like a TurboGrafx game or a Sega Master System game card, and I always think that's really neat. I really like it when games are flat like that. So if we focus back out, we open up the side, which is right here, and going out to see, I never remember which way these things go in. Is it that way? No, I believe it's that way. Give me a second here. I believe? No? Maybe? Yeah, there we go. It's really weird trying to get them in. So you just push that in, close that back up, and because I don't even know if I have 6 AA batteries laying around, we will use the AC adapter. There is an official AC adapter for it. Mine was lucky enough to come with it. I'm not sure just how rare it is. Although, I guess you could probably find one online somewhere if you have an Atari Lynx. And I definitely recommend getting one so that you're not using billions and billions of batteries. So let me fix my camera again. My tripod stinks. And let's see what we can do here. So basically, all you have to do is press the on button to turn it on and the off button to turn it off. And it kind of sucks because if you accidentally hit the off button, even just push it for half a second, your game will turn off. So it's kind of annoying for it to be so close there because you might accidentally think that's the pause button and go for it, and you would completely wreck your game. But anyway, just press the on button, and wow, this is probably not going to show up at all, but we will see anyway. Is anything on the screen yet? Okay, so the brightness is crazy. And if I fix the brightness just a bit, let me see here. So as you can see, there's full color there. Although one thing you're probably noticing right now is that the screen is sideways. Now that is just one of the weirdest things about the Atari Lynx. So we are going to have to play it like this. Basically, we're going to have to hold it so that the buttons are at the bottom, and we're going to have to control with another hand the D-pad on top. Now this is just one of those really, really weird setups. I'm sure everyone can probably hear the music, so if we use the D-pad up here, we can select all our different guys in Gauntlet. You might as well choose the pirate. Those pirates are awesome. And then you got your game here. So yeah, basically I'm using the D-pad up here and I have to use the buttons with my other hand at the bottom, which is really bizarre. We can also flip at any time by pressing these two buttons. One of them pauses, of course, so if we hold the pause button and press the other one, flip the screen upside down. So then we can do it the other way. So we can have the D-pad at the bottom and the buttons at the top. And overall, it's just really weird. And then anytime we can accidentally press the off button, and then we don't have to suffer through that anymore. But yeah, that is just kind of a quick demonstration of just how bizarre the Atari Lynx is with its flipping screen and just games that the screen is vertical, so you kind of have to hold it like this and the buttons at the top. And really, really weird. Although I'm sure everyone can imagine what a normal game would be like. You would just hold it like this, and it wouldn't be comfortable at all as this thing is massive. So luckily, they eventually realized that this thing was super uncomfortable. So they re-released. They released a second model later on, which was a bit more comfortable. Actually, I will take this game out of here just for now. There we go. Just pulls out just like that. Okay. So they released a second model later on, the Atari Lynx 2. Now, this is the box of it right here. As you can see, there is a massive sticker on the front that notes that Batman Returns comes with it for free. Now, that is not just this box that has that sticker on it. I've seen a number of other boxes that have that, so I don't know if they were, it's like, they realized we can't market it as the Atari Lynx. We need to market it as Batman Returns that comes with the portable console, because no one will ever want to buy an Atari Lynx. So I thought it was really funny that they had to put this massive sticker on it. That kind of wrecks the box, unfortunately. Then on the back, you can see some of the great games that come with it. And there you go, you have a description that no one will ever read. So if we put that down, here is the Atari Lynx 2. Now this one always reminds me of a Game Gear. It's almost the exact same size, actually. If you put it over top just like that. As you can see, yeah, it's just a little bit longer. But the height is pretty much exactly the same. I meant to compare it with the Atari Lynx 1 as well. Really don't want to drop this because it'll make a huge mess. There we go. Let's see. Can you get? So it's pretty much adds a little bit of extra length onto the end there. But overall, it's the same height again. So yeah, this one always reminds me a lot of the Game Gear. And you have a lot of the same features of it too. As you can see, the buttons have been kind of redesigned. They're square now instead of circle. And you also have a few more features along the sides. So let's see. Also along the back, there's no secret compartment for the game to go into now. It just kind of slips in there. Although unfortunately, what you would probably think is that there's this massive space here, so the picture probably faces out. Although that's actually not the way that it works. The game is actually not in right now. As you can see, it's kind of sticking out the top a bit. The game actually goes in like this, so you don't get to see it at all, which is really disappointing. And on the top we have our usual things: headphones, AC adapter, volume, and brightness. It still takes 6 AA batteries, except now they go in the bottom. Although thankfully that uses the same power adapter, so we do not need to worry about that. I guess I'll plug that in, just for now. But on the side, you can see we still have the on and off buttons, and there's also a backlight button. What that will do is that will actually just completely turn off the backlight, although I'll show you the issue with that in a minute. And then along the side here, I believe it's all the same. Option 1, restart, pause button, flip, and option 2 at the bottom there. So see if we turn this on. Let's see, let me make sure that the brightness is correct. Okay. So there we go. So this one is a lot easier to hold in front of the camera, thankfully. Although you'll notice that if I press the backlight button, for some reason, the entire screen turns off. It's like, it's not even just like, it's not backlit anymore. It just completely turns the screen off. I'm not sure if that's just a glitch with my Atari Lynx, or if that's actually how they made it. They made a button that makes the screen disappear. I mean, genius idea there. Anyway, you put that back. And yeah, and it's going to be the exact same game again, so I'm not going to go through all of that and suffer through it. Although, let's see, let's just turn it off. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so that is the Atari Lynx 2. Not too much different than the Atari Lynx 1, except a few things are in different places. And now you can turn the screen off so that you can't see it. But I did not mean to throw that. So I guess it's probably supposed to be like a battery saving thing. In case, what's it called? You don't want to play anymore, but you don't want it to run out of batteries either, so you can just turn off the screen. But I don't know, it seems really silly. It's also important to note that, as I said, The Game Boy came out in August 1989. The Lynx 1, although you know I'm holding up the Lynx 2, came out in September 1989. And the Game Gear actually didn't come out until 1991. So even though the Game Gear was color, it actually still was a bit behind, since there was the Atari Lynx, which already had a color screen, but it wasn't as massive as the Atari Lynx 1, so I guess later on they learned how to make their things more compact. And as I showed, the games look like this. There's actually two models of the games. I believe I have another model of the game right here. So as you can see, if I focus this in, this one kind of has a curve at the top. There's another model, this one right here, which has a series of bumps in it, and the back doesn't curve over. Instead, it just has the Atari symbol and a whole bunch of these bumps that I guess you're supposed to be able to get a grip on to remove the game from the console. And also, this is what the box for games look like. So pretty much like your generic portable game system box, pretty small, not too thick. And yeah, you just open that up and you have like instructions in your game in there. And it's still a pretty massive box considering the game is really small, but oh well. But yeah. And then if you compare the Game Boy, the first Game Boy, to the Atari Lynx 2, the first Game Boy still beats it by a mile. This is way more comfortable to hold than this massive thing. And you can of course also turn this upside down still too, because they still wanted to care for left-handed people, even after they did the revision. Although again, please post in the comments if you think that's a useful feature, or if you think it's just pointlessly silly, since you don't really care anyway. But yeah, I believe that is my look at the Atari Lynx. A really, really bizarre portable console. It did really bad, like I said, because it just didn't have the games to support it. And the Game Boy just destroyed the market. I mean, Game Gear did okay, but Game Boy just destroyed everything. So it's unfortunate, because there actually are some games for the Lynx that aren't too bad. But again, the console, it just kind of feels weird to hold. But if you're a collector, you should definitely try to get one, because it is neat. Especially the Atari Lynx 1. This thing is just massive. It's so cool showing it to people, because so many people can't even imagine, there's a phone, that there is a portable console that could be this huge, because it is just absolutely massive. But yeah, like I said, I believe that was my look at the Atari Lynx, and I really hope that everyone enjoyed it and learned something new. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks, and see you then.